So now let's cover the understand the let's understand the what is the method of payments and the terms of payment. So method of payment tells that how vendor or customer is going to pay you. So like vendor pays you in different way, like there is a check payment, there is electronic payment, there is a PDC. So all these things are the different methods to pay. Then if you want to say and all these methods you have to configure in the system. When you say a check, you need to configure the check payment in such a way that which check format will be used, then how check will be printed, what is the check number, how the checks will be configured. So all this setup we need to provide. So when you say check payment, so you need to generate the check, correct? And you have to give that check to the vendor. So it all comes when you create the check setup into the cash and bank model. But here you need to create the method of payment. So what is covered in check payment? So you have to just give the name, what type of payment is, period is invoice wise or total. So here generally it is invoice to invoice payment, description just check payment. Then we don't use grace payment or something. Then here is the important is the method for that. So by default system is having few methods here to check, electronic payment and promissory note. These are the main category of method of payment. So just select the check here, and then remaining all are related to the check setup, which will automatically cover here. When you go for the check setup, it will be appear here in the setup part what is the export format. So in default there are formats given by Microsoft out of box format. You have to choose which format to be used. So these are the available formats and you have to choose which is to be used. So generally every check is different, every company, every bank have different format. So generally we use the US format and customizable. Okay. So when you click on the check and in format, you have to select this export format. Similarly, return format may not be required, but it could be a configurable format. Export and then just close this. And that format you have to select from here. Okay. So this is the for check. When you go to the electronic format, you will see that before we click on electronic, there is one mandatory field here in the payment control for check is bank transaction type is must. Means without bank transaction type, it will not allow you to generate the check. Second is offset account has type bank. Means you are generating, you are using the vendor payment or your payment journal there. While when you select this method of payment as a check, automatically system needs that offset account bank is required, mandatory. If without that it will not allow. Check number is mandatory. So when you use this without check number, it will not allow. So these are few checks which are mandatory we enable, so that while creating the checks it will ask these things and then only you can post it. Okay. Then coming to the electronic payment, again the invoice electronic payment is a description. Now here either you can have electronic payment or other. So by default, if it is electronic, you should have electronic payment. And in electronic payment, then you have to decide this in the setup. Here is the export format. So here is NUTS US. This is the format for vendors, which is given by the government, like US government have given this format for most of the banks for vendor payment, which is already given into the Microsoft out of box formats. So these are all given here. You just select this which format is used, and then The same format you have to select from here. Okay. Again, here also some bank transaction type is mandatory. Offset account must be a bank. So these are the, but here check number is not necessary, so we don't check this. So you have to create this check method of payments here, and then this method of payment we can use when you generate the payments. So now close this. You can create your own setup there while practicing. Now you go to the terms of payment. Now terms is the credit days actually. How many credit days you are given by vendor? Net 30, net 50, net 60. So for example, vendor has given okay 5 days credit period. It means after receipt of material you have to pay in 5 days. How to create that? So create a new terms of payment. You can say net 5 days. You want to change here, we can use 5 and then here also simplest way is net and then here days 5. That's it. And save this. No other setup required when you say net. Now coming to the little more about this payment in terms of payment. If you have current month, current quarter, current year, current week, cash on delivery, okay. So these are all method of payments method as available. Current month, and then you don't need to give any other setup here. So it will check which month it is, and in this month you have to pay any day. That is kind of, but generally it won't use. Generally use net only. Okay. Either vendor will give you okay, you have a payment term is 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So based on that you have to configure this method of payment net and then give the number of days. Okay. So here you give net and then you give 5. That is the simplest way, and then save. Okay, that's, and now this term, when you create the purchase order, you have to select that. So based on that, when you receive the material, it will show the due date. So due date of that purchase in order will be automatically calculated based on the payment terms. This is about the method of payment and terms of payment.